CBS was forced to admit, this is amazing, forced to admit that Donald Trump's doing a little bit better than anyone had previously thought. More on that story in a second, but first, quick shout out to our excellent research at 76 Research. You can get this at 76research.com, just to look at some of our top holdings there and all the success they have had. You can see some of these companies up 32%, 29%, right on down the list. This is in our three portfolios: American Resilience, Inflation Protection, and Income Builder. You can find out more today. Look at these companies. 10 to 15 stocks in each one of these model portfolios at 76 Research today. But I will say this, by the way, Paramount is not one of them. Heads up. CBS is kind of having to eat its lunch a little bit here. They're in the middle of this lawsuit with Donald Trump. He's suing them, doubling it to $20 billion, which would put them out of business. They would have been out of business at $10 billion. And it's all happening as they conduct a new poll and are forced to admit this on television. You could just imagine. This must have killed them, really.
Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He is doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
So that's perception. What about the actual policies?
Well, let's start with the ones that are popular. And again, these echo a lot of what we saw in the campaign. The idea of deporting those in the country illegally continues to be popular. We saw that in the campaign. Sending troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, again, majority in favor. We'd seen that in the campaign. For his supporters in particular, the focus on ending DEI is popular. We had seen in the campaign a lot of them thought those processes had gone too far.
But guess what? He's doing everything that he promised. Imagine that. Think about this. I mean, how many election cycles have you been in? And somebody comes in and they say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Hope and change Obama, right? And nothing changes. In fact, all that hope and change has created greater and greater division. So instead of bringing the country together as he promised, what did he do? He divided the country. He leaned into all the race baiting, etc. And we wound up worse off for it. Well, Donald Trump is like, okay, I'm going to fix this. I'm the CEO. I'm going to put this into like real shape, like a business, and he's doing it in real time. And even CNN has to admit now it's going pretty well as far as the American public is concerned. Check it out.
You know, I think one of the things that's so important for politicians is for folks to believe what they're saying and that they're keeping their campaign promises. So I think this gives you a pretty gosh darn good idea of what may be going on. Trump's doing what he promised to do. You go back to April of 2017, it was just 46% of all Americans who said that Trump was doing what he promised to do. Compare that now to February of 2025. You know, there was a good show that was on during the 1990s called A Different World. That is what's going on right now. We're living in a different world. 70% of Americans say Trump is doing what he promised to do. Again, compare that to April of 2017 when it's just 46%. When Americans are 24 points more likely to say that you're doing what you promised to do, it's no wonder that your net approval rating is much more likely to be on the positive side of the ledger than on the negative side. And so far, what we're seeing, again, is Americans, 21 days so far versus just 11 days during his entire first term, that Trump has a positive net approval rating. Quite a different world.
Quite a different world. I love it. Totally different world. Barefoot Gardener, thank you for your generosity. So appreciate it. A different world. And as I said, it's a world that people respond to. They're like, you know what? At least he's doing what he promised, and he's doing it at lightning speed. And now we know. We know what was going on. We know. I mean, it's the 80-20 thing.
Describing what is currently the dumbest strategy in politics, which is Democrats taking the 20% side of every 80-20 issue in America. USAID, people want this pared down. They want it streamlined. They want to know where the money is going. Democrats have a meltdown. Today, Donald Trump signs executive order on keeping boys out of girls' sports. Democrats take the 20 side of that issue as well. All these issues, this is like Trump's superpower, finding a bunch of 80-20 issues, getting on the 80, and everybody who's sort of reflexively against him gets on the 20. And now the Democratic Party has like a 31% approval rating. This is why.
I don't know.
This is why, exactly why.